with David Ian and Kate Dale.
The show that plumbs the depths of mediocrity, celebrates the ordinary, and enjoys the everyday.
Hi everyone, welcome to Mediocre, the podcast. I'm David Ian.
And I'm Kate Dale.
And what have you been doing this week that's mediocre, Kate?
Well, as ever, David, quite a lot of things, because there's very few things I do that aren't mediocre.
Mm-hmm.
But what I wanted to particularly talk about today was how very bad I am at crochet and how much I love doing it. And I knew you would judge me on that because you just think it's a...
The thing is, I don't know that you are mediocre at crochet. I think you're bad at it.
Well, I think you're bad at being a supportive friend.
I think a supportive friend would be honest. I watched you. Do you remember?
Yes.
And you actually had to undo what you'd done and then you just gave it up.
I was trying to start a new thing and it had a slippery thread. I was quite bad at it that day and I am quite bad at it. But that's part of what I love, is it doesn't really matter. I mean, I've got two sisters and they are brilliant at crafts and they're brilliant at this stuff. And one knits, one crochets. They do fine lace work with beads and it's beautiful. And I get amazing Christmas presents every year. I give them lumpy crocheted Christmas decorations.
If you give me a crocheted Christmas present...
Oh, I'm so giving you. I'm going to do a crochet. Going to crochet a David.
Right.
That could be our latest merch.
The thing is, mainly what your crochet represents to me is an enormous bag that you're carrying around on the underground for no good reason at all.
Because I do look like an absolute
bag lady
of a certain age, and I'm trying not to make this gendered and misogynistic, but basically I look like a mad old bag lady because I'm carrying a bag around. But it gives my hands something to do. It kind of stills my mind a bit and gives me a thing of focus. And the fact that I'm not really massively creating anything. I've made some okay. I'm very good at blankets, but there are only so many blankets you need. However, given the cost of living crisis and energy prices, maybe this is my moment.
Yeah, maybe we should open a Mediocre Gay Etsy store that you could sell your mediocre crocheted blankets on.
I mean, it's true to say I am Kate Dale, not Tom Daly, so I think he's very much at one end of the yarn spectrum and I'm at the
We
other.
haven't reached the point where I'm doing a podcast with Tom Daly. Much is the shame.
Well, given one of the lines in your show, I'm sure that's never going to happen.
Oh my God, yeah, he's never going to... Oh God, yeah, okay. We've got a guest today.
We have got a guest today. Are you going to introduce?
No, you introduce.
We have the amazing and incredibly talented Hannah Byczkowski, fantastic comedian, who actually was, for both of us, when we started out in stand-up, our first ever MC. So she very much took our stand-up virginity.
You did, yay, welcome.
Hey.
Thank you so much.
How was that for you, Hannah?
I don't think I've ever taken anyone's virginity. If I have, it's unknowingly. But I'm very chuffed to have done that for both of you. Thank you so much for having me.
You were so kind and gentle.
Was I?
You were lovely.
I really, really do try and make sure that everyone's a little bit, safe and comfortable, because stand-up comedy is famously the most uncomfortable thing you can possibly do.
The only bad thing I remember about it, I have two overriding memories actually, one amazing and one not so amazing.
Okay.
So the not so amazing thing was because obviously at that particular venue, I don't know, can we say?
I'm sure we can.
Yeah, so at Comedy Virgins at the Cav, you don't know the running order.
Yes.
So you sit there very nervously the whole time.
Yes.
And which has an extra layer of like fear for me because I'm slightly deaf.
Okay.
Everybody cheers and I'm like, what if I don't hear you say my name?
Yeah.
But I was last that night. So you've spent the whole time
lurching.
Yeah, like
yeah.
So that was my horrible bit. But when I came out afterwards, you leant in and said some very supportive stuff about one of my jokes, which has stuck with me ever since. I think it was really important.
It was was terrified, but absolutely loved it. And you were amazing. I mean, it gave me completely false expectations of what comedy would be like. Oh, this is lovely.
Everyone's so kind.
I don't know what they're talking about when they say you've got to have a really tough skin, but it was lovely. And I was just a really interesting night, and really, it felt really safe and supported. And also, I won. I won my first clap off.
Yeah.
David, did you win?
No, I didn't.
I've never won one of those trophies.
Don't have one of those plastic trophies.
I am raging. I've never won one.
It is the last. I've tried a couple of other things since then, and I've lost horribly on all of them. So it was very much, Hannah, the highlight of my stand-up career.
Well, I'm so glad I could be a part
At
of
least
it.
I had a
I'm
highlight.
very unlucky. I've never won anything there. I'm very unlucky. I obviously don't perform well there.
I don't know why.
So what's going on in your life at the moment. So you went full-time about 6 months ago?
I did.
Which is exciting.
Yes,
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It is very exciting. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I mean, it's going good. It gives me the opportunity to gig everywhere.
Yeah.
So not just in London, I can go
You can
here,
travel.
there, and everywhere, and it's brilliant. And I love it. Comedy is my favourite thing. But yes, there is. Do you want me to mention the TV show now?
Yeah, go on.
Okay.
Then.
I am about to go on a BBC One television show.
Exciting. Tell us more.
I know, I'm so excited. It's called The Traitors. Claudia Winkleman's hosting it. It's basically I don't know if you've ever played a game called Secret Hitler.
Yes.
It's Secret Hitler.
Oh, I love Secret
Hitler.
Hitler.
It's the best game.
It sounds so wrong.
It does. It does.
But it's not.
Secret Hitler is basically a game that you play. Oh, have you ever played Mafia?
No.
Okay.
God,
So
I'm
Secret
a
Hitler
loser,
is
aren't I?
basically a game where you get allocated a role to play, and you're either a fascist or you're a liberal. There's nothing else. You do nothing fascist, but you are one of those roles. So
Right.
basically, the aim of the game for the fascists is to get whoever's Hitler into the role of Chancellor, and then they win and whatever.
Oh my God,
I know.
who comes
I
up
know
with
it's
this
very,
stuff?
it's very. But basically, the whole thing is that you have to lie as players to each other. So you
Right.
can lie, you cheat, you do everything you possibly can to make sure that you win. And that's basically what The Traitors is about. It's basically
wait.
a few people in the thing. I don't know what I can say. There are some people that are the traitors, some that are the faithfuls. I think you find out in episode 1 who's who.
Right.
And then you have to do tasks every day. I won't tell you what some of them are because I might get a letter from a lawyer. So
Okay.
I won't go into that too much. But it's very exciting. There's loads of different tasks. It's in a castle in Scotland.
Oh, wow.
And Inverness, in the most beautiful place we ever could have filmed it. But yeah, one of the best experiences I've ever had, I think.
How long were you doing that for?
We were filming for about 3 or 4 weeks.
And were you
Wow.
staying up there throughout?
Yeah. Yeah, so we were in
Wow.
there. And obviously because it's a game, we would never allowed to be on our own without being filmed. So it was a very strange experience. But very nice because I kind of got babied throughout the entire thing. You just get told where you have to be.
Yeah.
And some people have told me, I mean, you probably know as well that when you're on camera or you're being filmed or you're filming anything, that some people feel very restricted by what you can and can't do, what you're allowed to do. But I loved it. They were like, be here for then. And I was like, great, can't wait, thrilled.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And then I'd get told when I go for a cigarette, when I could have a drink. It was great. I thoroughly enjoyed every second of it, and I'd go back now if I could.
Wow. Oh my God, that's so exciting.
There was a lot of people that
Wait.
didn't feel the same way, but I loved it. It just to be removed from all the decision making
Yeah.
and just have the nice bits. Was
And is it a
fabulous.
real mix of people? So people from different backgrounds,
Yes.
different.
Yeah, I was the only comedian, which
Ideal.
of course was nice because as a comedian you always
Yeah.
only want to be the only one comedian. But there's a massive mix of people, but very, very exciting.
What you were saying about really loving like being submerged in that, I've always thought I would have loved to have been on Big Brother if it wasn't on TV.
Yeah.
Like the institutionalization of it and just like the escapism for like 10 weeks.
Yeah.
Just go and like live like that. I also thought you'd
I
make
mean, you
some really
could just
intense
do a minor
friendships.
crime and get a 10-week stretch.
We spoke about me being in prison just like 48 hours
I
ago.
know.
So let's not.
I was watching Orange is the New Black, and I know it's not an accurate representation of prison.
But it seems
But I
about
thought
right.
that looks.
Look.
I was so into that.
Let's
That's
be
fine.
honest. Cost of living crisis. You have no
Absolutely,
rent
yeah.
or mortgage, no electricity and gas, no council tax, no food bill.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Well, I'm going to move back in with my parents because.
which is basically the same.
Yeah, which is, I don't want to pay rent anymore. I'm absolutely sick of it, and I've been in London for 9 years, and it's been fabulous. But I was working then, and it was still very expensive, but nowhere near as expensive as it is now.
Now it's crazy.
So I just don't want. I'm quite looking forward to going back home and leaving for a few days to go on a little tour.
Yeah.
Go and do my gigs, whatever. Come back for a couple of days, have mum make me some dinner, and then
Oh,
leave
God,
again.
can you
It's just going to be
imagine?
brilliant.
Yeah,
I'm
that'd be
so
fantastic.
excited.
I was going to say, I was doing stand up anyway. You're home so little, and especially
Exactly.
if you're now outside of London as well.
Exactly.
You're just paying rent on
Yeah,
an
like,
empty space. a
Your
lot of the
home
time.
just ends up being,
Anywhere.
it's
Anywhere.
not even somewhere that you spend an
Train
evening, is it?
stations,
Because
airports.
ultimately you're always out in the evening.
And then I
Exactly.
don't know what to do anymore when I'm home. And I used to be really good at pajamas and,
Yeah.
cozying up and having a night in. And I'm restless now. I'm kind of pacing the floor a bit.
Absolutely,
I find, like, with TV, for example, you're kind of out of the loop of what's on TV because you're not at home in the evening. So then you're, like, not really into anything.
Exactly.
And I find I'm not bothering to get into that many series because I'm not going to be home enough. So
I always make time for a series binge. Always.
Literally, I'm talking about it all the time. The only thing I'm binging at the moment is The Golden Girls. I'm just watching it constantly.
Yeah.
Gone back into that. I have a newfound appreciation for it, actually.
Obsessed with Betty White, but that's time for another time. Okay, so, Hannah, what does the word mediocre mean to you?
I think that when I've been thinking about this, I think it's kind of in line with mundane.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the same neighborhood. Like they're neighbors. They don't necessarily mean the same thing, but they are quite similar. And mundane, I've been thinking about that quite a lot, and I was always quite frightened of it. And I think I'm quite frightened.
Frightened?
I think I'm quite frightened of mediocrity because I feel like it means something you settled for.
Yeah.
So it's not if I think that so and so is a mediocre person, as long as they're happy, it's not mediocre to them. But to me, it's whatever I settle for. Like a stable job, a retirement plan. No, thank you.
Yeah. Security.
Will I have a roof over my head next week? That's the stuff.
That's more exciting.
Yes, that's so, and that is genuinely true. I don't worry about. I mean, maybe I should, but I've kind of made a decision that I don't think I'm ever going to have children or have that kind of lifestyle. Mainly because I think it would be horrible. I'm just trying to find a really nice way of saying it, but I genuinely do think
you
it
are
might be
preaching
horrible.
to the choir.
As my mother used to say, it's not horrible, it's just not to my taste. I do agree with what you're saying, and I haven't had children either. And I went through a period when I realised that wasn't going to happen because I wasn't in the right relationship at the right time, blah, blah, blah. Well, I did cry about it. Totally over that now. I've got 4 nephews, 1 niece. I've now got, because I'm incredibly old, a couple of not great grandchildren, great nieces. Great nieces. I just skipped out children, grandchildren, straight to the great grandchildren. I've got a couple of great nieces, and it's lovely for exactly that reason.
Yeah.
And I've thoroughly enjoyed being the irresponsible bad influence of an auntie.
That's exactly what I'm going to be.
That is hilariously good fun.
I mean, I guess when my brother has kids, or my cousin, who's kind of like my sister, like when they have kids, which is imminent from what I understand, which is exciting. Everybody's like, then maybe I'll be excited about those because they'll be cool, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Young people, I just find boring.
I mean, I show everyone videos of my nephew because I think the world has to see these, and they couldn't give a shit. And that's, I know that.
Honestly, one of the worst things that you can do to me is show me pictures of a baby.
I keep posting them on
regular
social media, and people are like, it's supposed but you're a comedian, can you stop?
Would you mind not?
We don't give a shit about this baby. And I'm like, but look at him. Look at that. And they're like, honestly. But then when people do it to me, I'm like, I don't care.
Right.
Of course I don't care.
It's lovely. It's lovely for your nephew that you feel that way about him, that you want to share it. That's the thing that's lovely about that.
And also,
he's surrounded by love is a lovely way.
That's exactly it. He's completely and utterly spoilt with love from all angles. But it did make me realise when she had a baby, because I thought, this is crunch point now. It's either going to make me bruisey.
Yeah.
Or, in fact, I thought it was just going to make me bruisey. And then I was like, no, this is perfect. You keep popping them out.
Yeah, you've solved the problem.
Because he wasn't my choice.
It's like a library.
He happened to me.
Just borrow it.
Exactly.
Hand it back.
I've realised, and when I said when I realised that my time was sort of coming and going to have children, and I remember thinking at the time, it's less about having the child, it's more about wanting to be pregnant. And I dressed it up as, it's what technically, this is a very cis thing to say, but what our bodies were designed for. It's Catholic upbringing coming out. And for my body not to have done that, thinking about it now, and I realised I just wanted to be centre of attention. 9 months, centre of attention.
That makes way more
it's
sense.
about me.
I
say,
I feel faint. I can't do that. I'm pregnant.
That
pops out. It's about that child now. No, not interested.
That's exactly.
You could just get one of those badges for the tube, so that you get a seat.
Oh, I've tried. You have to send in all kinds of ID.
Oh, damn it.
You have to scan. Because I did look into doing it because I was sick of standing up, to be quite honest.
Right.
For a stand-up comedian, but I was sick. And also, I do feel that I've been lucky enough to be born. People who are being born now and people who are younger than me have definitely had it more. But I've never felt like I was forced to do that, or that my options were limited. My family, they're quite wonderful. They've always been like, you can do whatever you want and we'll support you through it. So really, there has been no trauma, which is strange for a stand-up comedian. But There
I know,
hasn't
what do you
really
have
been
to
any.
talk
I know, there's nothing. Talk about bottomless brunch, that's all I do. So it's the most basic bitch thing that's ever happened. But there is, it does feel as though I'm allowed to go out and do whatever I want to do. And because I am a selfish person, not in terms of not thinking about others or being empathetic or anything like that, but I am never going to want to give up my life for anybody else's because I'm having a good time. So I don't really want to do that. Yeah. And I think my parents, I mean, I don't want them. My brother's gay, and that doesn't mean that you can't have kids, but quite frankly, he's the most irresponsible person I've ever met. So
have we never met your
brother? He wouldn't get the paperwork through, to be honest. Nothing would happen. But so it is only going to be my sister. And she really wants that. She's an amazing mum. She's so happy doing it. But it works out really well because she gets to do all that. And we get to continue to be 20-year-olds for the rest of our lives.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's a selfishness thing, isn't it?
But it's not being selfish, it's being self-aware, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's actually being self-aware of what is going to make you fulfilled in life. And for some people, that is having children and families, and for some, that's not. And if we all did that, then actually we wouldn't maybe have so much overpopulation. That's a really simplistic statement, and there's education that comes into that, and there's all sorts of things.
Course.
But I think it's more selfish to have children just to look after you in your old age, surely.
Yeah.
Or because you
to
think
save your relationship.
or that the world needs more of me. I think the world possibly needs less of me.
Do you know, sometimes it comes down to hormones. I was talking to my friend, she won't mind me saying, her name's Becky, she lives in Cambodia.
Hi, Becky in Cambodia.
Hey, she lives in Cambodia. She's had a great couple of years just like dicking around, essentially. And she's planning on coming back to London to like kind of pick up where she left off. She wants to just go on a bit of an adventure. And she turned 33 the other month, and I did forget, and I called her about 11 o'clock at night. I completely forgot she was my best friend, and she wasn't massively happy with me. But she was like, I'm having a breakdown. I'm having like, I need to have kids. I need to have this because it just feels that. But I think it's hormones. And I think it's all this like expectation that there is still there from some people. And then I spoke to her today, and she was like, oh, it's gone. Thank fuck for that, because we don't have to, at least I don't feel that way anymore. Because we're very similar in how and that's probably why we're very good friends, is because we're not worried that one of us is going to have a baby and then that's all they're going to talk about. Exactly.
I don't think because of the biological clock with women, I think in exactly that age time, you are getting to that, well, it's now or never. And okay, never. The now has got older. But there is, I think I found it almost relief hitting menopause, and now it really beyond incredible amounts of medical intervention, which I'm not going to do. It's not really an option at all now, and there's a relief of that.
Because the options disappears, and that's it. And I think, I mean, also on the flip side, things have come so far that actually 30 years ago you would be considered a geriatric mother if you didn't have a baby.
My mum had me at 27 and she was a geriatric
Exactly.
mum.
So whereas now you can wait a bit longer. You can make sure that you've got a stable. Because if I were to have children, and I'm not saying never, and when I was with my ex-boyfriend, that was the only time I could imagine having a baby. That's because I loved him, and I thought the idea of having something that was half me, half him would be really lovely. Again, completely selfish reasons, because I didn't actually think, well, who's going to do this? Which one of us isn't going to be a stand-up comedian? Because one of us can't. You know, one of us is going to have to stay at home.
Not very family friendly.
Not in the slightest. No. So it's kind of gone back and forth, but it does mean you have a bit more time now. There are a lot more things.
Yeah.
And actually, it isn't as impossible as it seems.
Yeah.
But if I was to never have them, I would not be bothered.
If I by some bizarre miracle curse had one now, I'd be 70 for its 18th birthday. I don't think I would want to be bringing up a teenager in my 60s.
I think you'd find me disappearing very rapidly if you had a baby.
I mean, to be honest,
I'm moving to Cambodia. Bye.
Being good friends with David sometimes feels like I've got a teenager.
That's because my young, positive outlook on the world.
Absolutely, I can take on anything.
But that's the other thing. People say when they're younger, they're like, well, I've had one now because when it's 18, I get my life back. And I'm like, no, that's simply not true. You will never get your life back, ever. Like we said, I'm 32, I'm going back home. And that's it, to fulfill my dreams. I'm like, Mum and Dad, you continue to work. And
every time I panic or don't know what to do, my immediate thought is to ring my mum and dad.
Yeah, exactly.
My immediate thought.
Exactly, absolutely, 100%.
I cannot imagine the level of stress that must put on them, and just the constant nonsense that I put them through, that they must just be like, oh God.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that cliche saying that you're only as happy as your unhappiest child. No, I've got that wrong.
You're only as happy as your unhappiest child.
Is that a saying?
Yeah, because if you have two children who are very, very happy and your other one isn't very happy, you're not going to be happy because you're...
So you're entire,
Yeah. Actually, I remember my mum saying once, and I hope she doesn't mind me saying that. I don't think she will. It sounds very deep, but it also seems absolutely out of this world. She said when she was pregnant with, she really wanted me, really wanted to have a baby, and she really wanted more. But then when she was pregnant with my sister, she said she really struggled because she thought if anything happened to me, she would kill herself because she's my mum and she loves me that much. And then she thought, but what if something happens to Hannah? I've still got to be a mum, and she really should. I'm like, do you know what, babe? I can really do without that, actually.
But do you know what?
That's a lot, innit?
That's a
That's a lot to think about.
We had some family friends when we were growing up. Well, they're still friends now, but they had 2 kids, and one of them had some medical problems and wasn't supposed to live terribly long, but lived into adulthood, and then randomly died in adulthood, mid-20s, and it was very difficult. I think they had another child who was also an adult at this point, but basically what you were saying about wanting to get like too deep into who you're talking about and that kind of thing, like there was very clearly difficulties over like there's nothing to live for, but there is something to live for, you know, like that real tearing apart. I mean, I again from when we were young, somebody that we lived really near, they had a young baby that died of cancer. It was horrific, but they had another son, and the dad actually threw himself in front of a lorry.
Wow.
Because he couldn't cope with like the loss of the child. But I remember, I was a child at the time, but I remember being like, but what about the son, like the one that was left behind, like, because it's just overwhelming.
It is overwhelming completely. I mean, I don't know how I'm going to deal with it when my parents die.
No.
And I know that's going to happen, but I think then I'd be like, oh, well, I just don't know how I'm going to get through life because I don't really, you know, I'm very independent, but they're so a big part of it that I just don't know how I'm going to get, let alone.
My dog died the other week, and
I'm sorry because that is awful.
It has been the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Like I cannot overstate. It has just, it just ended everything in my life. Isn't it? Yeah, because it was just us for a very long time. Yeah. Like just me and her. She was 16 and a half. I've had her since she was 5 weeks old. It was really, really life altering, you know? And so many people have been like to me, oh, are you going to get another one?
Yeah.
So many people.
Yeah.
And the thought wouldn't even cross my mind.
Yeah.
Like, because that very much like your mum was saying, I think I'm just like I'm her dad. And it has fundamentally altered who I am as a person now that she has gone. And I know she's only a dog, and like,
also
I'm sure
16 years. That's you obviously had her from a time in your life which was quite for everybody usually. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like becoming like teenager.
I had her from when I was 20. So exactly. Like one of the things I was saying to you is I don't know how to adult without her. Like my entire adult life has been with her. My flat is completely silent. I cannot understand. It occurs to me that I've never been completely on my own. Yeah. For a 3-week period, I barely slept at all, did I? Because she slept on the bed and I couldn't go to bed. And it was horrific. So I can only imagine, like, if you lose a child, you know, they're your whole world, aren't they?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
If you've got another one that you're supposed to carry on for, right? Like, it must be. This is not where I thought this conversation was going. This is
no, it's good, isn't it? It's good. Do you know what though? I know it's probably a bit inappropriate, but I have got a kind of amusing dead dog story.
Go on.
So we've always had bulldogs since we were little, and one of our bulldogs we bred to have babies just because we kind of wanted to do the experience. Yeah. My dad loves bulldogs and all this. So we did that for a bit. We used to have an incubator for them.
Oh wow!
I used to have to rub their bum hole with a wet wipe to make them poo because bulldogs are completely incapable of doing anything on their own. It was like you had to get up every hour on the hour. Wow. So you're having about 10 minutes sleep. You're somebody doing the night shift, somebody there. It was outrageous. So our dogs, I completely understand because we've literally birthed them. Yeah. And we didn't keep them all. We sold them to friends, you know, like people who we knew were going to look after them. And one dog, Joan, we had 3 dogs at one point. We had Doris, Joan, and Wilf. And Doris died of old age. Yes. Yeah, I know they're good at it. Doris died of old age. And one year, my parents went to visit my sister in Australia. And my sister was with her boyfriend, and her boyfriend had planned on asking my dad, you know, for his permission to marry her. And they'd gone to a pub to do this. They'd gone for a pub for a meal, and my sister was like, you know, what am I talking about? My sister's husband was like, I'm going to do it now.
The future brother-in-law.
Exactly. So my nan called me, and it's a completely separate time, because it's a different time in Australia, obviously. My nan called me, I was hanging out of my arse, And she went, I had 10 missed calls from her. So I was like, oh my God, what's happened? And she was looking after the dogs because she lived next door. So she called me and I was like, hello. And she went, yeah, dog's dead.
Oh my God.
And I was like, what? And she was like, dog's dead. And I was like, what? She's like, Joan has died. We've gone round, Joan's died. She was quite old and it was, we loved them, but like we'd had the whole dog die before thing. And it was obviously very sad, but I was really hungover as well. And I was like, I don't know, I'm crying and I'm sad. And she was like, it's up to you what you want to do with this information. And I was like, what are you talking about, you mad witch? And she was like, well, you're the eldest child, so I think you should call your mum and dad in Australia. Oh, and I was like, okay, well, I'll do that. And she went, oh. And I was like, there can't be an
How is there at all?
There can't. This is dead. She was like, oh, we just don't ruin the holiday. And I was like, what, are you going to bark down the phone for the next 3 weeks pretending like you're Joan? And I was like, where are we going to keep it, Nana? And she was like, in the garage. And I was like,
no.
Oh, really? Welcome home from your holiday.
Oh, God, here's a dog that's been
Joan
dead
died.
3 weeks.
Here's a dog that's been dead for 3 weeks. So not only dead, but also rotting with probably loads of animals around it. So I was like, well, that's probably not a good idea. So I called my dad. I called my mum because I wasn't going to, my dad would have been heartbroken. So I needed him to hear it from her. Yeah. So I called her. She went outside with my sister. My future brother-in-law chose that moment to say, no, I love your daughter. Can I please marry her?
Oh, God.
And before he could answer, my mum came in and was like, Rob, dog's dead. So quite a traumatic event for absolutely everybody, to be honest.
That is horrific.
And I'm very glad that I didn't choose to keep the dog in the garage for 3 weeks.
Me too.
That seems like a positive life choice.
I'll never forget the ringing in my ears of hearing, yeah, dog's dead.
I didn't realise you'd have to wipe their bum with it. It's funny the things you do for it. So Millie used to get, that was my dog, she used to get phantom pregnancies.
Oh, yeah.
And she got them really bad. So for 5 years running, I had to milk her.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God.
The things you do for your
animals.
animals.
Never tell me that. Well, I can see why.
Like the ultimate act of love.
Yeah.
Like
how? No, it's...
Because they have a phantom, they think that they're pregnant, and they start producing milk, and you have to get rid of the milk for them if it doesn't come out on its own. In the end, had to have her sorted in that. But I was reading, apparently it comes from when they were pack animals. It would be very common for them to die in labour, and so other dogs in the pack would have phantom pregnancies so that they could feed the babies if the mum dies. So she was just an incredibly caring, amazing animal, but it was very traumatic.
How long did it take?
Oh God!
Sorry, what part of traumatic?
Everything about it.
Please, Kate, ask me. Describe in intricate detail a dog who died 3 weeks ago.
What makes me laugh is that I remember thinking prior to that the most traumatic thing about owning a dog would be when I had to go into Pets at Home and buy knickers with panty liners in them.
Oh, God, love her.
And it turned out that wasn't the worst thing. It was milking it.
No,
so yeah,
I know it is weird the things you'll do.
Right?
It is very, very strange.
Just getting on with it.
I mean, the one that's left now is quite old, but he doesn't. The most disgusting thing I've ever said on a podcast. He doesn't. When he comes back in, he doesn't quite crimp off the poo. Oh. So we now have to wipe an adult dog's arse.
That's a phrase I've never heard before.
No, crimp off the poo.
My dad's.
I think kind of want that to be your podcast. Crimp off the poo.
Oh my God, yeah. But we now have an entire dog arse wiping station by the back door now. There's a bit of pseudo-creme just in care. It's treated better than the nephew.
But you're moving home, so at least if you have any problems, you're covered.
I know.
Actually, when I'm going back to that conversation about who's going to look after me, when the time comes, will you crimp off my poo?
Yeah. Can't crimp off your own poo. That's the problem.
That feels like another line for our range of T-shirts we're thinking about launching. We've currently got what was that line I said? Eat the glitter, not the shit. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of having.
It's very poo related.
I'm afraid everything is. I'm so sorry. I don't know why.
Yeah, the merch is all poo related. Yeah, it's cool.
We don't know why. Right,
crimp off my poo, definitely.
It took a long time to get to that first question. Apologies.
This might be a whole series all on
a poo-related secondary podcast. Anyway, tell us about something that you love but everyone else thinks is mediocre.
Well, luckily it isn't that deep, but it is something that I am truly, truly in love with. It's reality TV.
all reality TV?
I can't, yeah, these, so, luckily...
And you're saying this as a star of reality TV now.
Well, mine's obviously the best. Well, yeah, I'm glad that I did this reality TV show because it's more of a reality game.
Yeah.
But, like, no one's going off and shagging.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? We're not
Don't give the
not
game
shagging.
away. That's why we're going to watch.
People are shagging. Loads of people are shagging. Luckily my housemate is also a very big fan of reality TV. And like people say that like, oh, if you watch reality TV, you're brain dead. But I think it's an escape.
I agree.
It's literally like a bit of a moment. The Kardashians, like watching those girls, watching Kourtney, Kim and Khloe eating a salad is my favourite way of passing a bit of time. It's the most incredible thing. I love it. 90 Day Fiancé, obsessed. Below Deck. Love that.
Oh my God, I loved
Below Deck is
so
brilliant.
Good. Yeah,
it's outrageous. And I'm currently watching. I have watched Married at First Sight.
Right, me and my neighbour Kenneth, we watch Married at First Sight together. We live in the same block, and sometimes if one of us isn't dressed like for a guest, then we will watch it in our individual apartments and text each other like as we're going along. But we are obsessed with Married at First Sight. We've watched all the Australian and I just think I don't like a lot of reality TV, so I don't watch the Kardashians or anything like you were saying. But Married at First Sight, I think, is such an interesting study on the patriarchy, misogyny, gender, like the traditional roles around marriage. It's just fascinating. Plus, the people they find.
I know, it's outrageous.
I've got a question though. How difficult is it to put on T-shirts and jogging bottoms to watch it together?
Sometimes
what do you wear to watch Married at First Sight that takes so long
if you're in your pajamas,
you have to wear a dress.
You have to wear a wedding dress. You have to wear a wedding dress.
Absolutely, you do.
That's what we do. That's what me and my housemate do. Every night, like get the gown on. I just need my goddamn veil.
Gonna lace me into the corset.
Sit down and watch this.
Okay, look. Let me be clear. What it mainly is if the flat isn't tidy enough. Okay, but I was making.
Sorry,
I was just gonna say though, Married at First Sight is something I cannot watch alone.
Oh,
it has to be with
communicate.
It has to be the gossip and the judgment because that's what it's about, right? And that's I think the role that they play. And for me, it's obviously it goes too far sometimes on social media and all the rest of it. But I've got a real soft spot for Love Island, even though as a feminist I feel I shouldn't. But
never seen it. So
I have never watched it.
Okay, so I will shame myself in it. But it's the conversations you have because you've all had that communal experience of watching it, even if you haven't been able to watch it together, and gossiping about stuff that doesn't really matter.
There's a fine line. I think Love Island, I've never seen it, but I think just for how young the people are, I think it toes a line. And I've heard things on the grapevine about how they produce it and what's set up to, kind of set up to make them fail. But not fail because everybody knows that when you go to Love Island, you come out, you get a clothing deal with a pretty little thing. You do end up being able to recreate your career however you want to do it. But I think it toes the line a little bit. And reality TV does, and I do feel a little bit ashamed when I start thinking about that. But I just can't help it. I love it so much. I love the drama.
I love the drama.
It's
and I love the
escapism as well, isn't it?
Escapism. And I guess what has been... I completely accept that about Love Island, so therefore I think that's why it's more than a little bit of guilt I feel about watching it. Plus, obviously, the age, the very specific body types, and their idea of somebody bigger is really not. But it's that community thing. I started watching it because I was watching it with this particular group of friends, and they were watching it.
And then you could talk about it.
And then we could talk about it, and we would WhatsApp about it, and and it became that, and it was that idle gossip for something that doesn't really matter and it reminds me in some ways of the early series of Big Brother where it was so mundane, gloriously mundane in terms of what we were watching, what we were doing. I remember sitting there watching someone brush their teeth thinking I should really go to bed, but it was just fascinating just watching somebody brush their teeth. It's a bit weird, but when we got so upset, if you remember, about Nasty Nick and all that, and it was passing a note. I mean, compared to what then happened in the subsequent ones, but it was just that the everydayness of it was somehow really fascinating.
It does remind me, though, when I was at drama school, one of the things they teach you is that, like, just the human form is infinitely interesting. And people will watch you doing nothing. Yeah. Because that is just interesting. Like, the internal life that you've got is just interesting. And the early days of Big Brother when you could watch it on E4 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
Like that is all you were watching, was just like someone's internal life.
They used
wasn't
to
it?
do a live audio stream, and I remember being at work in a previous job, and I just had the live audio stream on. And it was before they started doing the Birdsong thing. I was listening to somebody explain the entire plot of 2001, which I now don't need to watch. To it was great for over an hour and a half. So, moving on from reality TV, which I do absolutely love as well, Hannah, what do you think or secretly fear is mediocre about you?
Oh God, loads of things. I think I'm basically inherently a basic bitch, and I've tried so hard to not be, but I am. I love a prosecco brekkie. I love that.
The fact that that's what you call it.
Do you know what? Never even heard it. Just came out.
I love
I can't stop myself. I can't help it.
Prosecco, I want
A
that on a
prosecco
t-shirt.
brekkie. Yeah, I love a prosecco brekkie. And I take the piss so much out of my friends. I'm like, oh, you say basic. And then I'm like, oh my God, me too. Last night I was like, I'm going to get my bottle of wine. I'm going to watch my reality TV. I'm going to send it. Couldn't. Honestly, nails, everything. I am a basic bitch. But, I quite enjoy it. And I do use it in my comedy. I've got a whole brunch bit, which is probably going to end up being an hour show, though, to Edinburgh, to be honest.
Oh, but then it can become immersive where you do it at the bottom
Exactly.
of the brunch.
But that's the thing. I haven't got enough trauma. There's nothing bad that's ever really happened to me. So I haven't got. So I'm just like, I'm too.
Your comedy is quite joyful,
Yeah.
I think.
I hope so, because it's not. I think that's how that's kind of my comedy's very mediocre. Really, it's never clever. It's never like you never walk away thinking. But it's entertainment in that moment.
I mean, I think it is clever because it works. All comedy that works is clever.
Yeah, I suppose so.
But
I don't mean to demean it, because I think I'm good at it. It's what I love doing. I don't, but that I see comedy as being entertaining, and you are a clown. You are a jester for the crowd.
I feel rude saying you're a clown, but it's a real joy and a joyfulness. And there's lots of comedy that makes me laugh but isn't joyful. So and that's fine, because it's a different thing. It's joyfulness. It's, I think, incredibly sex positive, which we don't get enough of for straight women. I don't think. It's embracing of life. Yeah, and it's laughing at life, but it's not so. I love a bit of trauma comedy, but I also love joy comedy as well. I'm now making up genres which I don't think exist. But...
Let's do it. Why not? Why not? Let's have it. No, it's great.
Someone update Wikipedia.
But what helps being a basic bitch is that it relates to a lot of people, and a lot of people understand.
I was going to say, I think your comedy is very easily accessible. Like, I can sit down and be like, I understand. Like, it doesn't rely on me having lived your experience or anything like that. Like, I immediately understand what's going on.
Exactly. And comedy in general is a very self-indulgent thing.
Oh,
I mean,
God.
to have the, where the hell do we get off standing on stage and making people listen to us? Do you know what I mean? Like, what? Who the hell do we think we are? And it is an incredibly,
especially when you come off stage and you're like, oh, they're a quiet audience.
Yeah.
Oh, you owe you anything.
It's not me, it's the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Do you know what a weird audience it was tonight? But not just you doing a shit job. No, it does kind of. It's an incredibly ridiculous thing, and so I think there has to be a certain amount of humbleness to be able to cancel out the self-indulgence of it all. Do you know what I mean? And be like, I'm giving you the permission to laugh at me, and with me, but you can laugh at me as well because I'm putting it all out there. Yeah. So I think, my comedy's quite mediocre as well, and me.
Oh, it's not. So I'm not letting you get away with that because you are very funny. But that whole terminology of basic bitch, and I know you're saying it in a, it's like, ironic, I'm not sure that's the right phrase, but in a celebratory way.
Yes.
But we should be celebrating that, because what it is actually, and that sort of that whole, the judging of Huns and Hun culture. And it's people who just know what they like and enjoy what they like, isn't it? And without having to feel that it's back to everybody always thinking everything has to be clever or serious or arch or... And I hate the phrase guilty pleasures because it implies guilt where there is just pleasure. But there's something really judgmental about it. Where just embrace it. If you love a prosecco brekkie, and I for one do, and totally going to be using that phrase, so we can't be friends anymore.
It's so good.
I love that phrase.
I do a whole bit about bottomless brunch, but I've never been happier than on a crisp autumn day on a Saturday at midday. You go with your pals. The whole day can be drunk, because I don't like drinking at night anymore. Well, I will, but I don't like a whole night. I won't go to a club anymore. I will be like, if you want me drunk, get me at 1 p.m. and that's when it's going to be great because then I'll be in bed for 8. And you know what I mean?
Don't have a hangover the next day.
No, it's incredible. But it just feels as though the whole you're at a brunch place, probably Megan's, probably Clapham, and surrounded by everybody. You can see all the other groups of women because it is usually women. You can see all the other groups of women. And it's like your counterparts and your friends. You're all the same. You're all in it together. You're all out for a good day out. And there's never been a bad atmosphere at Bottomless Brunch.
Yeah,
Never.
I do a musical theatre class on a Saturday afternoon, and it's in Waterloo. So I'm sort of tripping through Waterloo, literally, because I'm clumsy, at about 2:30. And you see these groups of women getting off the train and coming in, and they are dressed up to the nines. Ridiculous, not ridiculous because I can't walk in them, but ridiculous heels and tiny, basically could have come straight off Love Island, really. And they look so up for it and so up to have a good time. And there's a couple of bars down there that are clearly set up to cater for this now. And honestly, they just look like they're living their best lives.
It's incredible. I don't take a bag because I know I will leave it. So I just wear something with pockets in. Fill up my bra with everything I could possibly need. Got my fags, got my lighter, I've got my wallet, and then like a lipstick, and then I'm out for the day.
And you're done.
And I'm on a big adventure for the day. It's the most brilliant thing. And there's never any fighting. There's never any bad vibes. Everyone's always just happy. And then you end up in a pub and you're all sat down, everyone's drunk, and it's only 4. It's incredible.
See, that sounds more sensible than the other week we did a charity gig and they paid us in alcohol.
Okay.
But so you could have cocktails. It was a slug of lettuce.
Oh.
Yes. But what the bar staff got confused about is even though we weren't paying for the cocktails, it was still 2 for 1. So they kept delivering. If you ordered 4 cocktails, you got 8.
Oh wow!
So we were basically
after the gig,
we were
martinis. Completely on a Wednesday evening when we then all had to work the next day. Well, first of all, we had to get back from. I'm not going to say where this was.
Out of town.
Oh gosh, because the slug of lettuce now is like this generation's Wetherspoons, isn't it?
God, it was horrific. Honest to God, like such a headache the next day.
And we were drinking porn star martinis, and so just the sugar, we just have furry teeth for the next 3 days.
As soon as you don't have to pay for something, all of a sudden,
it's outrageous, isn't it?
You're just like, yes.
Yeah. Sometimes when I'd MC and they give you wherever you MC, they're like, you get paid whatever it is, and you get drinks on tap that I cannot remember a thing because I just go absolutely crazy. It's like a bottomless brunch. It's a military operation. If people don't get there on time, I'm like, well, you're not part of this anymore then, because it has to start on the minute.
Yeah.
And I will
make the most of it.
Literally. Yeah. And once somebody was like, well, we don't leave the bottle, and I was like, well, you're going to be walking around this table for the next hour and a half then, because I am going to be like,
well, they were just going to pour and then
they would just pour and then leave, and I was like, no, I'm not having that. You can.
What's the point?
So then I would make it so that whenever the guy finished doing everybody else's drinks at my table, mine would be empty again. And
eventually, did he get the message?
It's an episode of The Simpsons, isn't there, where Homer bankrupts a seafood and all-you-can-eat seafood restaurant or something like that. It's that, isn't it?
I think for my parents' generation, it was a Chinese buffet.
Yes. But the booze just changes things completely. Yeah. And it is cheap for what it is. It is a really good place. There's a place in King's Cross which I highly recommend called Bon Vivant, which is a great bottomless brunch. Bon Vivant. In a Stoke accent, it's Bon Vivant. But that's a really good bottomless brunch. So shout out, sponsorship.
Get a free ticket.
I'll do it,
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much. So let's do some promo. What have you got that you're promoting? So you've got your show. And
I've got the TV show, The Traitors, which will be out now. And
that's on BBC One?
BBC One, yes.
And iPlayer, presumably.
And that's with Claudia Winkleman.
Yeah, that's with Claudia Winkleman.
Is The Fringe, did you meet her in real life?
Yes.
Is The Fringe as intense in real life?
Yeah, but she's the most beautiful woman I think
I'm obsessed.
Like, honestly, not even on TV, she's more beautiful. And she's so lovely.
She seems
so
really,
lovely.
really, really authentic.
She is. She's brilliant.
I'd be
she's
devastated
so
if you turn
nice. I hope she's closed. I hope she's still saying nice things about me, but you never know. I'm probably me and another comedian friend. We're doing shows here, there, and everywhere. We're doing a split bill called Shaggers. It's me and him. We're doing half an hour each. We're probably have got venues. Various different places. So if you want to buy tickets, please do on my Instagram.
What's your Instagram?
It's Hannah Byczkowski, spelt like that. Because I realised that if I spelt it how it was actually spelt, no one would ever find me.
So Hannah and then Bitch.
Yeah.
And then you'll come up.
Kowski. Yeah, that's correct.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been a joy.
Fantastic.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week. My name is David Ian, and you can find me on Instagram at Mr. David Ian.
And I'm Kate Dale, and you can find me on Insta at KTS Dale, or very possibly at the nearest Prosecco Brecci.
Same.
Thanks for listening to Mediocre Gay, the podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and give us a 5-star rating. It helps other people find the show.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Mediocre Gay Pod, or share your mediocre secrets with us on mediocregaypod@gmail.com.